Okay, we will start with the next Governor General, Lord Ripon. Okay, so we have discussed till Lytton. In the previous session, we have discussed about Lord Canning, 1857 revolt, Queen's proclamation that we have discussed, and after that, we have discussed about two acting Governor Generals, and then we discussed about Mayo, Lord Mayo, and I've told you the first census during the time of Mayo, and the financial distribution between the center and provinces, and the Governor General who was killed in India and Nicobar Islands. We have discussed that, and also we have discussed about one more thing related to Mayo, that is two Mayo colleges was established in Ajmer and Kathiawar for the princes and the princesses of royal families. After that, so this was 1869 to 72. Then 72 to 76 we have discussed about Northbrook, and we have discussed about Universal Marriage Act in 1872. After that we have discussed about 76 to 80 Lord Lytton, and we have discussed about various reactionary policies of Lytton. We have discussed about famine during 76-78 time, and we have discussed about the famine code, okay, which was drafted under Ripon, but the famine commission was appointed by Lytton. And then we have discussed about three controversial policies like Arms Act, Vernacular Press Act, and also lowering the age of civil services. Okay, so now we need to discuss about Lord Ripon. So that is from 80 to 84. So 1880 to 84. I've told you already, after Mayo, whoever is coming next, four Governor Generals have 4-year term, right? So Northbrook 4-year, Lytton 4-year, Ripon 4-year. Next will be Dufferin. That will be from 84 to 88, 4-year. Okay. Now when it comes to Ripon, very famous Governor General, very popular Governor General, and in fact when he was called back to England, the people in Calcutta actually protested against that. And this kind of situations will come rarely in history, that a Governor General when called back, the people in India is protesting against that. So such a honor it was actually for Lord Ripon because of his policies. So first what he did is, in 1881 he repealed the controversial policies of Lytton. So we have discussed about three controversial policies: Arms Act, Vernacular Press Act, and the lowering age of civil services, right? So these three controversial policies of Lytton got repealed by Ripon in 1881. So naturally he won the minds of Indians, okay, and that's the reason why when he was called back from India, the people in India actually protested against that. Okay, now when we discussed about Mayo, we have discussed about the first census, but at that time I've told you it is the first census but not the regular All India census. That was in 1872, and the regular All India census is going to come during Ripon's time, that is from 1881. The first regular All India census started by Ripon. So the first census by Mayo, first regular All India census. Why regular? Then after this, every 10 year, 91, 1901, 1911, 1921, every 10 year the census is there. At the same time, it will be All India census. So the first regular All India census, and at that time the population which was marked, that was 25 crore 40 lakh was the population. The first census marked this population. Don't forget, it is actually huge in number at that point of time. Why? It is because at that time Pakistan and Bangladesh are also part of us, right? So that is why it is actually very huge. If you see here 25 crore and 40 lakh, that is in 1881. So these two countries were also part of India at that point of time. So if you combine all these three countries now, what is the population? So that itself you can understand that this 25 crore at that time, how many years back? Okay, so it's around 140 years back. It is so high. That is because of this. Okay. Now the second, that is about the census. Second point we have already discussed, that is famine code was drafted under Ripon. Famine commission was appointed by Lytton, the commission headed by Richard Strachey. Famine Code was drafted under Ripon, and we have discussed about the 3 points related to Famine Code, that there is no tax in those areas where there is a crop failure of 50% or more. Then the government will provide food for work. Thirdly, government will provide fodder for animals. So these are the main 3 provisions that we have already discussed with respect to the Famine Code. And in 1882, there are 2 important reforms, very important. First one is related to the local self-government. Local self-government, and Lord Ripon is known as the father of local self-government. This question was asked in prelims just like that, directly. So we have discussed so far many fathers, right? We have discussed about father of civil services, Cornwallis, and that question was asked in 2013 prelims. And we have discussed about father of modern India, Rajaram Mohan Roy. So we have discussed all these. Now local self-government was established. So this is the most important reform that we need to discuss at this under this Governor General. So at the village level, there will be Panchayat. As you can see now, the village level Panchayat, and the town and cities, there will be municipal boards. Okay, and most importantly, the members of these will be elected. This is more important. So you can see elections were introduced for the first time. So local self-government, and more than that, this is what more important for you, that elections were introduced for the first time. But don't forget that this election is not like the current day election. It was not based on adult suffrage. Not based on adult suffrage. It was based on limited suffrage. What do you mean by limited suffrage? That means not all people have the right to vote. Only few people can vote, right? It will be based on education, the tax you pay, income, etc. So these are the conditions if you need to be eligible to become the person who can cast vote. Now to contest election, even more tough conditions are there. So very rarely, very few people can contest election. So you can see around 3% of the population can vote, and less than 1% can contest election. But see, the point is, the first time elections were introduced, and Indians are now going to start getting the flavor of election. Okay, now see, even though it is not based on adult suffrage, it was based on limited suffrage. One important point that you need to note here is, even the nationalist also was not against it. Even the nationalist also supported this. Okay, because in their opinion also, if you are not educated, how and for whom you are going to cast vote, etc. So even the nationalist, see, in fact, if you see the nationalist side, those things which are affecting them, they are very concerned. You can see Arms Act. They are very much affected, or they are very much interested in that, and they went against English. But normal people, common people, have nothing to do with Arms Act. Similarly, Vernacular Press Act, lowering the age of civil services, all these were actually affecting the nationalist. Later, when we discuss during the time of Lord Curzon, there will be Indian Universities Act. Okay, through that some restrictions will be imposed on universities also. And you can see again nationalist is coming into picture against English. So the point which I want to tell you is, mostly even these nationalists also, in the beginning, if you see, if their interests are compromised, then only they are going against English. Okay, so here limited suffrage only, but their interest is not compromised. They can contest election, they can vote, they are educated, they are the middle class. Okay, so they are not against it. Even the nationalist was not against this in the beginning. Even nationalist also supported. But the point here I want to tell you is, elections for the first time, Indians are going to get elected, and Indians are going to get the flavor of election. Now see, if you think logically, what is the reason why they want Indian participation now at the governing level, at least at the bottom level, why they need Indian participation? If you remember, after 1857 revolt, when we discussed about the quotations, we have discussed about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan And at that time, I've told you, he made a point that there was no intermediary between British government and the public. So the anger directly went against the government. So this organization's local self-government was established to create as an intermediary or to act as a buffer, so that there will be a buffer between the public and the government. And the second opinion about this is actually, see, if you have at the lowest level, if you have Indians, you can save some money. These are not that important positions or jobs, so there is no need to employ the Europeans here. If you employ Europeans, you need to pay more salary. If it is Indians, you can get it done at the very less cost. So this was also one of the idea behind this, this kind of decentralization. Okay, so 1882, I've already told you there are two reforms. This is the first one, which is related to the local self-government. Second one is related to education. So if you remember, so far we have discussed about 2-3 important concepts related to education. 1813 we started the discussion. 1835 we discussed something. 1837 we have discussed something. 1854 we said something related to education. So if you get a question in history or even in your essay also, you should be writing all these. Now 1882 something is going to happen. So 1813 in the Charter Act, we have discussed that there was a provision that rupees 1 lakh should be spent for the education. So the company was actually directed to spend rupees 1 lakh for the purpose of betterment of education in those areas where they have control. So that was the first initiative with respect to education. Okay, and then 1835 we have discussed that Macaulay Minute, and which is related to higher education, which is based on the concept of trickle down, downward filtration theory. Entire concepts and idea we have discussed over there, so there is no need to have any confusion for you. This has to be there in your answer. The main drawback was focused on higher education, not primary nor secondary. And also the government did not took up the responsibility, and the responsibility was given to those educated sections. 1837, it was a very simple one. Persian was the official language till then, was replaced with English as the official language. So most of the Muslim elites lost their job, and that is one of the reason why Muslims participation was so high in 1857 revolt. Again in 1854 we have discussed about Wood's Dispatch. So here the importance was given on secondary education, here higher education, here secondary education. And here the problem was government did not took up the responsibility, but here when we discuss about Wood's Dispatch, government took up the responsibility of giving education to masses, and we have discussed that this as the Magna Carta of modern Indian education. So if you get a question on Wood's Dispatch is known as or called as Magna Carta of modern Indian education, what all contents you need to write, you have the clear idea. But even then, what is the problem? Here higher education, here secondary education. So they are coming from top to bottom. This is how they are coming. Instead of going like this, bottom to top you should go. So that problem will be solved here. In 1882 they are going to focus on primary education. Okay, so this is Hundar Commission. 1882 Hundar Commission. So we need to discuss about the Hundar Commission. Okay, so the main points, first one, primary education should be given importance. You can just take down the points. Primary education should be given importance. Second one, grants in aid for private schools. See, if you see 1854 Wood's Dispatch, government took up the responsibility for giving education to masses, and it is impossible for the government to establish infrastructure everywhere, pay salary to the teachers and everything. So private participation is actually expected. So if the private players are establishing the schools, and then grants and aid will be provided by the government, up to 95% you can get as the grant. Even now it is there. So grants and aid for private schools. Third point, women education to be given importance. women education to be given importance. So we have discussed about already. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan talked about women education. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Jyoti Rao Phule, all these social reformers were talking about women education, and they worked on this field also. So now women education should be given importance. Fourth point, more universities. So we have discussed about Woods Dispatch universities to be established, and 1857 we have discussed about 3 universities at Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. Now more universities to be established. So you will see 1884 Punjab University in Lahore, Punjab University, and then 1887 Allahabad University. Okay, like this you will see more and more universities will be opened from here onwards. And in fact, this period 1915 to 22 period is known as the golden era of Indian universities. You will see Banaras Hindu University, Aligarh University, Delhi University, Jamia Millia University, Osmania University, Dhaka University, Patna University, Lucknow University, all these established during this time, Aligarh Muslim University, etc. So you don't want to know all those names, but all the major universities were actually established during this time. And here there was a provision for establishment of more universities, and this was the fourth one. And then here like that it will go. Okay, so now one more point that you can write is it recommended transfer of control of primary education to newly set up district and municipal boards. Okay, primary education control was given to district and municipal boards. And secondary education should be divided into 2. These are not important. The one which we have discussed now is important. Secondary education divided into 2. Literary, that means leading up to university, and then vocational, that is for commercial careers. Okay, so these are the points that you need to discuss under Hunter Commission. And when we come back to Ripon, a very liberal person, he wanted to do some reforms, okay, in that true sense. So in 1883 actually he introduced a bill, that is Ilbert Bill. This is the only one controversy during Lytton's time. So the Ilbert Bill, okay, controversy, that is what we need to discuss. He introduced the bill, that Ilbert Bill, and based on this actually an Indian judge could hear the case of Europeans. Indian judge, till then that was not the case. Indian judge could hear the case of Europeans. See, till then only European judge can hear the case of Europeans, but European judge can hear the case of Indians also. So he felt that it is discriminatory. So now, universities are established, people are getting educated, Indian judges are getting proper education, and they are getting education from England and also from the universities. So Indian judge should also be given opportunity, or Indian judge can also hear the case of Europeans. This is the original bill, but the Europeans protested against it and the bill got amended. Now comes the problem. When the bill got amended, it amended like this: Indian judge could hear the case of Europeans, but he must be assisted by a European judge or an English judge. Okay, so this again felt as discriminatory by the nationalist, and nationalist went against it. So this is actually the only controversy during Ripon's time. So because nationalist felt this as discriminatory. In fact, if he would not have introduced this, then there wouldn't have been any problem. But introduced and then amended, then nationalist went against it. So this is actually the Ilbert Bill controversy, which happened during Ripon's time. So this is the only major controversy, or only one controversy that you can say. So what we have discussed under Ripon is actually census, famine code. We have discussed about local self-governments. We have discussed about Hunter Commission on Education, and then Ilbert Bill. And in 1881, the 3 controversial policies of Lytton got repealed. Now, next Governor General, Lord Dufferin.